Lesbian Detectives. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now, Lesbian Detectives. Lesbian Detectives. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready, let's go. Pay attention to the message I present to you, the Lesbian Detectives.
This is Lesbian Detectives. I'm Sierra.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And we are here talking about missing and unsolved murders.
We are discussing cases that you have forgotten about or never even heard of.
So sit back, relax, and let's start this podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to a new episode on a new week. I have exciting news. If you follow us on social media, you have already seen them. But we were on the top 100 Detectives podcast. We were actually number 28. Clock that T. Yay for us. I will put it in the description below so you guys can go check it out. I was like, Mama, I made it. Thank you guys for listening to us. Thank you so much. We could not do it without you guys. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you see that my wife is showing off her tattoo. You clock it. Look at it, guys. Look at it. Oh, it's so cute. She has not posted online. You should post it on Facebook or TikTok so everybody can see it.
I added it to my story, but it disappeared.
Yeah, it doesn't stay long because it's a story.
It's not done. I have to finish it on the 31st. Get the tail.
Like, it's going to go all the way down to, like, your wrist, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, but she going to be a badass.
I'm already a badass.
She's already a badass. She took it like a champ, guys. 2 sections. What was it, like 8 hours?
It was total 13 hours, I believe.
13 hours, like, badass. I'm thinking about getting one. If I get one, it's going to be dedicated to my grandma, but I want a basic one with, like, rest in peace, grandmama. Like, I want something like
a portrait or something?
Oh, no. I ain't that. I ain't there yet. But something, like, dedicated to her and what kind of woman she was. So it's going to be like 3 years from now, guys. And like, Sierra the tattoo. I'm like, y'all, just keep waiting. Keep waiting. But one day in the future, I'm thinking about getting that tattoo. One day. Just something to remember her by, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Or I just can, like, give it to charity in her name. It's probably more easier and less pain. Guys, this episode right here is actually... It's crazy because it was solved, but then it wasn't solved. It's crazy. It's so many twists and turns. You were like, okay, I thought it was solved. Nope, it's not solved. So I say it's pre-solved. But let's say my favorite line. Now let's get into the episode. 3 people left their home one summer night, but only one of them will ever be found. On a warm June evening in 1979, a mother and her 2 young children stepped into the car, unaware that it would be the last time anyone would ever see them again. They were a family with dreams, plans, and a future they believed was waiting for them. But by the time investigators arrived, the home they left behind held only questions. A mother would be discovered nearly 100 miles away from the last time she was seen alive. 2 children would disappear without a trace. No phone call, no ransom note, no confirmed sighting, just silence. As detectives search for answers, they uncover a story filled with secrets, betrayal, and hidden money, and people who were not who they appeared to be. The person trusted the most would become the center of a horrified investigation. a respected community would be forced to question how well they knew the people around them, and 2 children will become the missing piece of a mystery that still remains unsolved decades later. What happened on that final night? Who knew the truth? And where did the 2 innocent children disappear to? This is a story of a family whose lives were forever changed by one night. A case filled with unanswered questions, forgotten promises, and a mystery that continues to haunt investigators to this day. This is a case of the Reinert family. Before this became one of Pennsylvania's most haunted missing children case, it was the story of a mother trying to build a better life for herself and her 2 children. Susan Gallagher Reinert was a 30-year-old English teacher at a high school in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. Those who knew her described her as intelligent, ambitious, and dedicated to her education. She loved literature and had built a successful career teaching high school students. But when the school day ended, Susan's most important job wasn't in the classroom. It was being a mother. Susan had 2 children from her previous marriage, Karen, who was 11 years old, and Michael, who was 10. Karen was the oldest. Friends and family described her as bright, mature for her age, and compassionate. She had a gentle personality and was known for looking out for her younger brother. Like many girls her age, she was beginning to develop her own interests and personality, but she was still very close to her mom. Michael was curious and adventurous. Family members describe him as a typical 10-year-old boy who loved being active and spending time with his sister. Although Karen and Michael had different personalities, they shared a close bond. They had already experienced their parents' divorce together, and that difficult chapter seemed to make them even closer. The family lived in Pennsylvania, where Susan was raising the children primarily on her own after divorcing their father. Like many single parents, she worked hard to provide a stable home. While balancing a demanding career, friends said Susan adored Karen and Michael. Nearly every decision she made centered around giving them a secure future. She wanted them to have opportunities she never had, and despite the challenges of raising 2 children alone, she seemed determined to make it work. By 1979, however, Susan believed her life was finally turning a corner. Several years earlier, she had started a relationship with a fellow teacher named William Bill Bradfield. Bradfield wasn't just another teacher. He served as the chairman of the school English department and had built a reputation as an intelligent, respected educator. To many people, he appeared successful, charming, and trustworthy. Susan fell deeply in love with him. According to friends, she believed Bill was the man she would eventually marry. She invested blending their lives together, creating a new future for herself and her children. That trust extended far beyond their relationship. Susan handed Bill around $25,000 to invest for her, believing he was helping her secure her family financial future. She also made a series of decisions that would later become central to the murder investigation. She changed her will, naming Bill as the primary of her estate, and took out around $730,000 in life insurance, with him listed. Looking back, investigators believe those decisions unknowingly placed Susan and possibly Karen and Michael in a dangerous situation. What Susan didn't know was that the DA will later accuse Bill of never investing the money she gave him. Instead, they allege he had taken it for himself. Even more shocking, investigators discovered that while Bill was promising Susan a future together, he was reportedly involved with several other women at that same time. By the summer of 1979, the investment Susan believed she had made was nearing its maturity date. If she had asked for the money back, investigators believe Bill's deception would have been exposed. No one knows exactly what Susan had begun to expect in those final weeks of her life. What is known is that on the evening of June 22nd, 1979, Susan loaded Karen and Michael into her car and left home. It would be the last time anyone would ever see the family again. Friday, June 22nd, 1979, started out like any other summer day for the family. School had recently let out for the summer, and Susan was making plans for the months ahead. She had been telling friends she and Bill had a future together. From the outside, it appeared Susan was entering a new chapter in her life. She had a successful career and 2 children she loved and a man she believed she could trust. But behind the scenes, investigators will later uncover evidence suggesting that everything Susan believed about her future was built on lies. That evening, Susan loaded 11-year-old Karen and 10-year-old Michael into her car. Witnesses said the family left their home around 9:20 p.m. That will be the last confirmed sighting of all 3 of them. According to investigators, Susan was expected to meet her boyfriend, Bill, sometime that evening. Whether the meeting ever happened has never been confirmed. As hours passed, no one realized anything was wrong. It wasn't unusual for Susan to take the children somewhere or spend time away from the home. But when she failed to show up for a planned activity and no one could reach her, concern quickly began to grow. Then the weekend passed. By the early morning hours of Monday, June 25th, the mystery took a horrified turn. Around 5:20 a.m., authorities received a phone call reporting that a woman appeared to be inside the trunk of a car parked at the Host Inn Hotel, roughly 100 miles from Susan's home. When officers arrived, they found Susan's car sitting in the parking lot. The trunk was open. Inside was Susan. The scene was unlike anything investigators expected. Susan had been stripped naked. Her wrists and ankles had been restrained. She had obvious injuries from a beating, but the autopsy revealed something even more disturbing. The medical examiner determined Susan had survived the assault for somewhere between 24 and 36 hours before someone injected her with a fatal dose of morphine. Investigators immediately began searching the vehicle for Karen and Michael. They weren't there. There was no sign of the children anywhere in or around the car. Police searched the hotel grounds, nearby wooded area, and surrounding neighborhoods, hoping the children had somehow escaped. Nothing. As detectives processed the crime scene, one question became impossible to ignore. If Susan had been murdered, where was Karen and Mike? Had they witnessed their mother attack? Were they adopted? Were they still alive somewhere? Or had they suffered the same fate as their mother? At that point, no one knew. The investigators quickly expanded from a murder case into a desperate search for 2 missing children. Search team followed every lead they could find. Friends, neighbors, family members, and co-workers were interviewed. Tips came in across Pennsylvania, but none of them led to Karen or Michael. The children had seemingly vanished without a trace. As detectives dug deep into Susan's personal life, they discovered that almost every road led back to one person, the man Susan trusted most, William Bill Bradfield. And what they uncovered about him completely changed the direction of the investigation. With Susan confirmed dead and Karen and Michael still missing, investigators switched their focus to answering one question. Who would want to kill a mother and make 2 children disappear? Bradfield wasn't just Susan's boyfriend. He was the chairman of the English department. To many of his colleagues, he appeared intelligent and well-respected. He didn't fit the image of someone capable of murdering someone. Still, detectives couldn't ignore the growing numbers of red flags surrounding him. The first involving money. Susan had trusted Bill with around $25,000 to invest it in what she believed was a 6-month certified deposit that would promise a generous return. Investment was expected to mature around the same time she disappeared. When investigators began examining Bradfield's financial records, they discovered evidence suggesting the money has never been invested. Instead, the DA would later argue that Bill had taken the money for himself. If Susan had asked for proof of the investment or demanded her money back, his decision would have been exposed. But that wasn't the only financial connection. Detectives also learned that Susan had made Bill the sole primary of her estate and a life insurance plan worth $730,000. For investigators, that immediately raised alarms. If Susan died, Bill stood to inherit a lot of money. It was a motive detectives couldn't ignore. As they dug even deeper into Bradfield's life, another disturbing pattern emerged. Although Susan believed they were building a future together, she wasn't the only woman in Bill's life. Investigators learned Bradfield had been involved in relationships with multiple women at the same time. Several reported believing they were in a serious committed relationships with him. To those women, Bradfield told different stories, different promises, different futures. Detectives began to wonder whether Susan had started to realize something was wrong. Had she discovered the missing money? Had she learned about the other women? Or was she prepared to confront Bradfield? Those questions remain unanswered. As investigators continued interviewing, another name repeatedly surfaced. A man who worked just down the hall from both of them.
Dr. J. Charles Smith. Smith was the principal of Upper Marion High School. Like Bradfield, he was highly educated and respected within the community. But detectives would soon learn there was much more to J. Smith than his public image. Witnesses described Smith and Bradfield as unusually close. They spent time together outside of work and shared an interest in unusual hobbies and philosophical discussions that some people found unsettling. The relationship between the two men immediately caught investigators' attention. As police continued gathering evidence, they began to suspect the crime was too complex for one person to carry out alone. Susan had been beaten, restrained, held for more than a day, and ultimately murdered with morphine. Meanwhile, the two children had vanished without leaving behind a single confirmed clue. Investigators believed that if Karen and Michael had been kidnapped after witnessing their mother's murder, someone would have needed to control all three victims. That possibly led detectives to consider whether more than one person had been involved. While police continued searching for Karen and Michael, another tragedy quietly unfolded. Their father desperately searched for answers about his children. He cooperated with investigators and hoped that they would eventually be found alive. But with every passing day, that hope became harder to hold on to. Weeks turned into months, months turned into years. There were no credible sightings, no ransom demands, no letters, no phone calls. No evidence that Karen or Michael had survived after the night they disappeared. As the investigation stalled, detectives became convinced that Susan's murder and the children's disappearance weren't random acts of violence. They believed they were carefully planned, and at the center of the plan were two men from the same high school. One was Susan's trusted boyfriend, the other was the school's principal. But proving it would take years, and the case was about to become one of the most controversial murder investigations in Pennsylvania history. For months, investigators had been trying to answer the same question. The investigation into Susan Reinert's murder had uncovered a disturbing possibility. The woman who had trusted Bill Bradfield with her heart, her money, and her future may have been betrayed by the very person she believed would protect her. But before Bradfield would ever face charges for murder, investigators had to unravel the financial deception they believed was the center of the case. One of the first major discoveries investigators made involved the $25,000 Susan had given Bradfield. Susan believed she was investing the money into a 6-month certificate that would earn her 12% interest. To Susan, this was a smart financial decision. She trusted Bradfield. She believed he was helping her build a secure future for herself and her children. But investigators later discovered the investment may have never existed. Prosecutors argued that Bradfield took the money for himself. The timing made the discovery even more suspicious. The certificate was supposed to mature around the same time Susan disappeared. Investigators believe that if Susan had asked questions or demanded her money back, Bradfield's deception could have been exposed. In 1981, nearly 2 years after Susan's murder, Bradfield was charged with theft by deception. Prosecutors argued that he had lied about investing Susan's money and had kept the funds for himself. Bradfield was convicted. He was later sentenced to 2 years in prison while he was serving that sentence. But while he was serving that sentence, investigators continued looking into something much bigger: the murder of Susan Reinert and the disappearance of Karen and Michael. Shortly after Bradfield was released from prison in 1983, he was arrested again. This time, the accusations were far more serious. Bradfield was charged with conspiring to murder Susan Reinert and her 2 children. Prosecutors believed they understood the motive. They argued that Bradfield wanted Susan's life insurance money. They also believed he wanted to prevent Susan from discovering that he had taken the money she trusted him to invest. According to the prosecutors, Susan was not killed because of a sudden argument. She was targeted. The disappearance of Karen and Michael made the case even more heartbreaking. Investigators believe the children were connected to the crime. They were not simply missing. They disappeared at the same time their mother was murdered. Prosecutors argued that Bradfield was responsible for their deaths as well, but investigators still struggled with one major question: could one person really have done all of this alone? The murder, the movement of Susan's vehicle, the disappearance of 2 children? The answer investigators came to was no. They believed Bradfield had help. During the trial, prosecutors presented Bradfield as the person who planned the crime. They argued he had the motive, the opportunity, and the financial reason to want Susan gone. The jury ultimately agreed. William Bill Bradfield was convicted of murder. He received 3 life sentences for the deaths of Susan, Karen, and Michael. For the first time, authorities had someone held responsible, but they still believed the entire story had not been uncovered. Because investigators believed Bradfield was not the person who physically carried out the killings, they believed someone else was involved, and their attention turned toward another man connected to Bradfield: Dr. J. Charles Smith. They believed Smith played a role in the murders. Before he was charged in the Rainer's case, Smith was already serving prison time for unrelated convictions involving drug possessions with intent to deliver and receive stolen goods. As investigators continued building their case against J. Charles Smith, another unsettling detail from his personal life gained public attention. Years before Smith was charged in the Rainer's case, his own daughter and her husband disappeared. In 1978, Stephanie Hunsberger, Smith's daughter, and her husband Edward Hunsberger vanished. The couple was last confirmed seen on February the 25th, 1978. Their disappearance happened just 1 year before Susan Reinert and her children vanished, which later caused people following the Reinert case to take notice. Investigators looked into the disappearance of Stephanie and Edward, but the cases remained separate. There were reported sightings of the couple after they disappeared, but none were ever confirmed. Despite the timing and the connections through Smith, J. Smith was never charged in connection with their disappearance. There was never enough evidence to prove he had anything to do with what happened to his daughter and son-in-law. Still, the mystery became another unanswered question surrounding a man who was already at the center of one of Pennsylvania's most disturbing criminal cases. For some people, following the Reinert investigation, the disappearance of Stephanie and Edward added another layer of curiosity. But for investigators, the focus remained on proving what happened to Susan, Karen, and Michael Reinert. Because in the Reinert case, the biggest mystery was still the same. Then, in 1985, prosecutors charged him with the murders of Susan, Karen, and Michael. Authorities believe Bradfield and Smith had different roles. According to prosecutors, Bradfield was the person who planned the crime. Smith was the person who carried it out. They argued that Bradfield wanted Susan gone because of money and because he feared his lies would be exposed. They believe Smith helped turn that plan into reality. The disappearance of Karen and Michael was also central to the case. Prosecutors believed the children were killed because they may have known what happened to their mother. But Jay Smith's defense team told a completely different story. They argued Smith was being blamed because he was connected to Bradfield. They claimed Bradfield was the real manipulator and had created a story that placed suspicion on Smith. Smith's attorney argued that Bradfield had reasons to protect himself and shift responsibility onto someone else. The defense questioned whether prosecutors had enough evidence to prove Smith was involved. Despite the defense arguments, Jay Smith was convicted of 3 counts of murder. He was sentenced to death. At the time, the conviction appeared to confirm investigators' theory that the Reinert murders involved 2 men. Bradfield had planned it, Smith had carried it out. But years later, serious questions would be raised about the conviction. In 1989, Smith's conviction was overturned after evidence was discovered that raised doubts about his guilt. The evidence suggested that information may have been improperly withheld during the original trial. A retrial was ordered, but the retrial never happened. In 1992, Jay Smith was released from prison. He continued to maintain his innocence until his death in 2009. In 1998, after William Bradfield died in custody, investigators discovered a strange photograph among his belongings. The image showed a stone standing upright in a wooded area. It appeared almost like a marker. Police believe the photograph could be significant. They wonder if the location shown in the picture could lead them to Karen and Michael's remains. They search for clues after where the picture was taken. But once again, the investigators reached a dead end. Karen and Michael Reinert were declared legally dead in 1987. Their father spent years hoping for answers before his death in 2002. But their final resting place remains unknown. No remains have ever been found. No confirmed location has ever been identified. No one knows exactly what happened after Susan drove away from her home that night. The convictions of Bradfield and Smith created theories. They created courtroom battles. They created years of investigation. But they never answered the questions that mattered most. Before we end this case, let's take a moment to remember the victims. Behind every investigation, every courtroom battle, and every unanswered question, there are real people whose lives mattered. Susan Gallagher Reinert was more than just a name in a case file. She was a mother, a teacher, and a woman who wanted to build a better future for her children. She dedicated her life to educating others, and she believed she had found someone she could trust. Susan deserved to grow older, watch her children grow up, and continue the life she worked so hard to create. Karen Reinert was only 11 years old. She was a daughter, a sister, and a child with her whole life ahead of her. Family members remembered her as caring, mature, and someone who looked out for her younger brother. She should have had the chance to experience her teenage years, discovered who she would become, and make memories with the people who loved her. Michael Reinert was only 10 years old. He was a young boy full of energy, curiosity, and adventure. He should have been able to grow up, chase his dreams, and experience all the moments that come with childhood. Instead, his life became connected to one of Pennsylvania's most heartbreaking mysteries. Decades later, Susan's story had a conclusion in the eyes of the law, but Karen and Michael's story remains unfinished. Their family never received the answers they deserve. Their final resting place remains unknown, and their loved ones never had a chance to say goodbye. The Reinert case reminded us that behind every missing person's case is a family left waiting, hoping, and searching for answers. So before we close this chapter, we remember Susan, Karen, and Michael. Not just for how they died or how they disappeared, but for who they were. A mother, a daughter, a son, 3 lives that mattered, and 3 people who should never be forgotten. This is the Reinert family case. Now let's get into some theories.
Theories.
Let's get into some theories. Let's get into some theories. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories. Lesbian detectives. What type of thoughts you thinking? What theories running through your mind? I'm thinking all types of suspicion. Uncover the truth, what we can find. Witness say they saw somebody creeping out the back door. What you think they did it for? That's so crazy, I'm not sure. They found a car, where could she be? Here go another puzzle piece. Research and do your history. It's plenty unsolved mysteries. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories, yeah. Let's get into some theories. Let's get into some theories. Everyone is a suspect until proven guilty. Let's get into some theories. Lesbian detectives.
You or me?
Good.
I'm gonna be very, very like, y'all gonna get mad at me. Y'all gonna get so mad at me when I say this. I don't think Smith did it. I just think it was Bill. I think it was all Bill. I mean, it's kind of hard because Smith's daughter did go missing. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird a little bit. But I don't know. It's like, I know Bill and Jay were friends, right? So like, okay, but you don't have any proof that it was Smith. You just saying like, hey, like this guy could not kill 3 people. He needed help. To me, if you really think about it, he probably could have did it by himself. You know, like he could have thrown the kids, tied the kids up, and thrown the mom. He said like, hey, if you stay right here, like listen to everything I said, I won't hurt your kids. And he told the kids the same thing. So like, I mean, I could see one person doing it, but I'm like, it just seemed like Bill was the one that was in trouble. He was stealing the money. He was cheating on her. And it seemed like, okay, yes, girl, sorry, Susan, may you rest in peace. But you were getting played. She was getting played. Like he was out there stealing your money and also, you know, had other chicks. So I like, girl, he was getting played. But to me, I don't know what's did it finally click to Susan that things wasn't lining up? Like, hey, where's my money? Because she was a single mom. So having $25,000 back then, that's a lot. Shoot, even now, that's a lot of money right then. So I don't know. I don't think it was both. And I feel like you're not going to agree with me. So go ahead and say it.
I think it could have been both because I don't know about your friendships, but usually whenever you're friends with somebody and you share a common hobby, especially if it's like a secret hobby or something that not everybody is supposed to know, you like to you're yourself with that person, whether it's good or bad or whatever. And if you guys both have the same type of interest, y'all are going to talk about that. So if somebody's already experienced with unaliving people and this other person's not, the person that's more experienced is probably going to get away with it because of their experience. I feel like this was Bill's kind of first unaliving. That's why he got caught. And maybe like Smith did his part, which was take care of the kids because the kids haven't been found. And evidence surfaced where Smith was basically declared innocent. I don't believe that one person could have done both. I mean, they could. This person could. But it's unlikely because how are you going to leave one person in the car and then go and only take care of the kids?
That's the thing I'm stuck on.
It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
If you're going to unalive 3 people, you're probably going to put them all together because why are you going back and forth?
Right.
And so Bill was probably not as intelligent, especially because of the stuff that he used to get into, like a 6-month return of investment.
Right.
And then having Susan name him the beneficiary. Like, you're trying to make this stuff, but you're going to get caught. And at the end of the day, maybe Smith, and he's called Dr. Smith also because he was a smart person, was like, okay, yeah, like, even though we share this interest, at the end of the day, like, I'm going to cover myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe that both of them had some part of it. I just don't see really what Smith got out of it besides just maybe a shared interest. Maybe he enjoyed doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Or if he had some other kind of dark business, maybe harvesting organs or,
Mm-hmm.
Selling kids, something along
Mm-hmm.
trafficking, like who knows.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe both of them played a part.
Mm-hmm.
And because the kids were not discovered, they were probably taken care of by Smith.
So I have a couple things I want to say. Hearing it, what if Smith was a serial killer?
Yeah, it could be.
Because his daughter and son-in-law has never been found. That's kind of weird to me. But also, I don't believe, like, Bill, he's still money. Like, he's smart, right? He's still in the money, but he don't want to kill them, right? But what if Dr. Smith was into that stuff? Like, because it is weird how she was found, right? She was found beaten. She was found, bound. She was found like with a lethal dose of morphine. That seemed like somebody who did this before. You know what I'm saying?
But if somebody had done this, they would have taken care of it. This person seems super sloppy.
It seems super sloppy. What if Bill had the car and he's supposed to take care of the body, but Bill got distracted, left the thing the car there, but the car was never supposed to be found, right? Because nobody really assumed that they was missing. They all she just out of town with her kids. Nobody knew she was missing. People she's supposed to show up, but everybody thought okay, she's still okay. What if Bill didn't finish his part of the job and Smith was hey, I did the hard work, just take her body here and we're gonna finish everything? What if Bill didn't do that last part?
So as somebody that is a serial killer or an experienced person would have a plan. So at the end of the day, I feel like you can't really get distracted with something like this. This takes a lot of planning and execution. Something came up is probably not good enough because you have to think about, where am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? How am I going to get rid of the body? How am I not going to get caught? And everything that Bill is just the way that he thinks is, to me, it's just kind of like in the moment.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's why I don't believe Smith had anything to do with that or set him up. I don't think it was Smith's doing with Susan, at least, because Smith would have taken care of it, just like he, I believe, took care of the kids.
But my point in my point in my theories was that I feel like, because you're hearing the police kind of believe that Dr. Smith was the alpha. That he, even though what's her name, hey, this is a plan, that what's her name really planned everything out and, made sure everything was covered. Because they had idea it was him, but they had no really proof it was him. But Bill, they figured out. I feel like you said, Bill is a guy that he think in a moment. Because to me, you over here scamming this girl that y'all work at the same job. It's you really not thinking you're gonna get caught. You ain't thinking it through. So that's the part I'm stuck on. How you gonna scam somebody? Usually you scam and you go ghost. This man was scamming, still dating her. You making no sense. But I do feel like he was going to kill her for sure because of the life insurance plan. But I feel like he had not a good idea how he was going to do it. I don't believe the kids was really apart. I just wonder, where are the kids? I feel like since we can't find Smith's daughter and son-in-law, the kids probably at that same burial site. Or what if the kids have already been found, but they DNA would be in the system? Because I'm what if they're Jane Doe and, they might know who they are. But, their DNA have to be in the system. So, if they are found, police would know, it's DNA. It's just confusing on why the kids wasn't with their mom. We do believe that the mom was the main target because she went through a lot. But we can't even say if the kids didn't go through a lot because we don't have their bodies, to compare. But what if he did sell the kids? I mean, it's money out there. There was an evil man. They're probably like, you know what? I probably get a lot of money for selling these kids. They at the right age and stuff like that.
Right.
You don't know what kind of friends they might know. So you agree that it was both of them.
Yes.
You kind of changed my mind. I mean, I'm very like, you can really change my mind. Like if I'm not for sure on something, guys, like I'm easy like that. Not too easy, but I'm stuck. Okay. You got me stuck. Jesus. I don't know no more. I don't know no more. We're going to say both. We're going to agree it's both. But who do you think was the alpha? Who do you think planned everything and killed everybody?
The alpha or like the mastermind? It was Smith for sure.
I think it was Smith too. I don't think Bill, like how you said, I don't think Bill really thought things through. I think Smith made sure everything was planned.
And I can even probably go as far as they might have been like lovers too, because like you ride that hard for somebody.
I don't ride that hard for a lot of people. But also, we remember how Susan died.
Sorry, what if Smith was the one that convinced what's his name to get all of that? Well, no, I don't.
Because I gotta really look into it because during this case, it's hard because not a lot of information. I don't think any other women say like, hey, he took money from me. They never said that part. They were like, oh yeah, we was dating and stuff like that. Or they probably was embarrassed, but he didn't go to jail for any other, like taking anybody else's money but just Susan. So it was
I
like,
thought he had been convicted of
only Susan's, nobody else's. So like, that's the craziest part, like, but what else I'm finna say? Shoot. Oh, Smith went to jail for having drugs, right? I remember that. But they never said what kind of drugs it was. Like, think about it. Like,
was it morphine?
yeah, like what kind of drugs? Like if he's getting like drugs, he know a supplier. And a supplier probably like, hey, like I got some morphine because that's very out there, I don't know. It's just a thought. Guys, please tell us your theories because I'm stuck. We both agree it was Smith and Bradfield, but we don't have an idea of, like, we're just all over the place, let's be honest. But guys, that is our case. If you love hearing us, please subscribe and please hit that notification button so you can get notified when a new episode is released. I would love to hear your theories, so comment below and let me hear what you think happened to this beautiful family. We're on all podcast platforms, also YouTube. Like, comment, and subscribe. This is Lesbian Detectives. Do not forget, everybody's a suspect.
So proven innocent.
Bye. Have a nice weekend.
Lesbian Detectives. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now. Lesbian Detectives. Lesbian Detectives. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready, let's go. Pay attention to the message I present to you, the Lesbian Detectives.